Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for the latest installment of What's the Point? This week, we are going to be tackling what's the point of texting. And we have brought along a special guest with us, Mike Cantrell, we're going to introduce in just one moment. In the meantime, I am Andrew Triplett. I am Director of Consulting here at Touchpoint Software. And next to my face there on the screen is Michael Faulkner. Michael, you want to go ahead and say hello?
Sure. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Well, I'm not seeing you, but you're seeing me. But it's good to be with you guys again today, and appreciate you joining us this month. And as Andrew alluded to, yes, Mike Cantrell is joining us today, and I want to tell you we are very excited about a partnership that Touchpoint has with Mike's company, Ministry by Text, that we've already announced, and we'll be really rolling out more information about at our upcoming summit. So for those of you that are current partner churches, you'll get to hear about that. But Mike serves as a president for Solutions by Text and oversees all aspects of operations. But one of the reasons that Touchpoint is so excited about this partnership is that SBT has delivered world-class texting solutions to commercial industries for several years now. And now through Ministry by Text, which is a division of Solutions by Text, those commercial-grade texting capabilities are available to churches, which is providing additional effective and efficient ways to perform ministry while reducing operation costs. More specifically to Mike, Mike has been a public speaker in the mobile industry really for the last 10 years. And as a result, from serving as keynote and in some instances, and then participating in breakout sessions and others, he's been educating audiences on the impact and cost-effective means of communications today. So Mike, we're really looking forward to hearing what you have to say based on your insights and expertise. But before we jump into that, Andrew, I'm going to hand it back to you for a few housekeeping items.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad to be with you guys today.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so a little bit of housekeeping. Everyone is probably familiar with these concepts by now, but just want to point out that we will be trying to leave some room at the end of the presentation today for some Q&A. So go ahead and get your questions into that Q&A box there at the bottom of the screen. Real quick agenda before we dive in. Obviously, we're going to start with just the question that we've already posed. What's the point of text message communication? And we're going to talk about how texting can impact and help your ministry. Mike is going to talk us through the 6 pillars of texting. And then, like I said, we will close out with Q&A. So with that, I am handing it off to Michael.
Well, we begin in so many instances with a dialogue around why you should be texting. And there are many statistics that I could bore you with that would support why you should be adding this text ingredient of communication to a communication recipe that you guys already have in play. It is staggering now that we've been in the industry since 2007 that we send over 20 billion text messages a day in the world. That's a day. 20 billion. Now, just in the United States alone, we send over 7 billion text messages a day. Now, my wife and I actually have triplets, and I know that they're really contributing to that in a major way. But it's not just the kiddos that are texting. It is across the board now. And I'll tell you guys that I get more text messages from my 75-year-old mother than anybody else I know. So it is certainly universal at this time. Not going to bore you a whole lot with these statistics, but I will say that 9 out of 10 people prefer text over any other channel of communication. And we'll talk more about preference and why this preference impacts the why and why we should be texting. I'll continue by saying this. So many of our client partners ask us all the time the ability to track whether or not someone read a text message. Well, that capability is not necessarily out there. We'll talk a little bit more about tracking capabilities and why those are important here in a moment. But the answer to that question is always the same. What percentage of your text messages do you read? And if you're like most people, it's all of them. And the incredible statistic is that 98% of messages are read in 3 minutes or less. That is an unbelievably consistent statistic. And there is a great opportunity to leverage not just your preference and your reading of your text messages, but just know that's your members as well. They read all their text messages. and they read them fast. Certainly, though, that what we've come to realize is that when you start texting your members, they're going to text you back. They prefer conversation. So a lot of what we'll talk about today and at the conference as well is, why do you need to be ready when they text you back? And then what are some of those best practices when you approach that? We could go on and on about preferences, but I'll also share this with you. Because of the advancements that we've seen in these mobile devices, the use of emojis and then photographs. This is their digital phone. There's all kinds of great photography that they're capturing, especially at your events and so forth. And we'll talk more about how you can use texting to prompt them to respond with some of these amazing images that they've captured on their phones. But I'll share with you, overwhelmingly, the most important statistic of all is the smartphone penetration rate. Now it's just over 93% of all users have a smartphone. Now, this is significant. When we first started texting in 2007, it was just one-way information texting. But now, because of this smartphone penetration rate and the amazing mobile optimized content that you guys are hosting online, texting is the bridge to so much other content. And I can't stress to you enough, your members prefer to self-service. They want to gather information and they want to use smart URLs to connect to all kinds of information and participation. And we're going to talk more today about why this is critical in your planning and preparation for texting. So thank you for letting me review the rest of those statistics, because I can talk about that all day. I'll also share with you guys that this is going to be an interactive demo, an interactive presentation and webinar for you guys today. And the slides that we're going through, the audience always asks, how can I get a copy of the slides? Well, just know that when we get through with our time together today, we're going to allow you to simply send a text message and receive all the slides that we go through today. But I want you to begin with having a video that demonstrates all of what we're going to show you today from the why perspective, and hear one of our church pastors who's using Touchpoint talking about the impact that it's made inside his organization. So this is the beginning of our interactive presentation. You guys are going to want to see this for yourself. It's really cool. So all you need to do is just grab your cell phone. You're going to start a new text message to the number 77007, and you'll just simply text the word Cottonwood, and you'll get a video of one of the pastors using Touchpoint that's going to talk to you about why this is so important to him. So I'll pass it back.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. And y'all are not allowed to watch that video right now because I'm talking. All eyes on me. All right. All kidding aside. No, those are great stats, Mike. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, when I think back 10 years ago, when we were using those phones where you had to type one number 3 times or one digit 3 times to get a particular letter, I never imagined texting being as big as it is today. But texting isn't just big, it's personal. I mean, this is the way we communicate, not just high level things, but deep and personal things. It's really flat out embraced as one of the most common communication channels. I mean, to Mike's point a moment ago, for my 14-year-old, I'm pretty sure it is his only communication channel. So that's not as far-fetched as it might sound. Now, what's interesting, though, is for those of you who may not remember, back in the day, there was this thing called a phone tree, where if, I remember in soccer practice, if soccer practice was on the line because there was bad weather in the area, people were waiting by their phones because they knew the coach was going to call 3 moms who were going to call 2 moms. And then before long, we were all going to hear about it. Same with churches. Churches were communicating that kind of information about Easter services. Well, texting allows that kind of communication to happen much faster than it was happening in the past. It's a much faster and easier way to communicate in ways that we've been doing all along. Also, texting reduces friction. Okay, and what I mean by that is when you think about the ways we're trying to perform ministry, there's always the need and how to address that need. But a lot of times when we provide solutions for addressing it, we create friction in the meantime. So the need never gets addressed. Well, Texting eliminates a lot of that friction, especially through capabilities like deep links, where you might need somebody to help with a capital campaign. So you tell them to text a certain number, and you can deep link them back something that when they press that link will take them straight into their mobile app, right to the giving page. Eliminates all kinds of friction. So to be able to eliminate that friction really enables ministry much more effectively. And then obviously we're all aware of keywords in texting and how effective those can be. Can also be used when trying to remind people of things, whether that is, hey, leader, we need you to check in your class. Don't forget to do that for your small group. Or, hey guys, we've got a capital campaign coming up and we really need to push strong. Here again, going back to the deep link, here's a deep link to the giving page. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and jump in there. So the point is, whether it's generating funds through tithes or reducing costs through being able to provide information via text that you might otherwise want to print, texting provides all kinds of capabilities as it relates to streamlining messages and streamlining action for ministerial purposes.
Well, that's all relevant information, and I can't help but want to tie a bow around a couple of these. And one of them is the use of these keywords, these reply words that Michael's referring to. This is how your members will be exposed to information, but gather the information they want, but more importantly, opt in or subscribe to different groups or segmentation that Andrew's going to speak to today that is just critical for you guys in your ability to pinpoint messaging to segments of your audience. I also can't stress to you guys enough from a best practice standpoint why it's so critical to add this texting ingredient. And it's because the savings is massive. There is so much opportunity here to repurpose some of the standards of your operation, but now take them to a more usable functionality, something as simple as the Sunday bulletin that we'll look at today. So not only can you repurpose and extend some of the resources that you created, but the shelf life is much larger because you created digital solutions. And we're going to talk so much about that today. Not only does it allow you to better execute the model of your ministry or your church, but the savings is the icing on the cake. And we'll talk more about that as well. Now, I'm excited to be sharing this panel with Michael and Andrew, and for us to narrow our focus to this concept of why, and why is it so important to have a plan? I see it so often that churches and organizations have a specific need or a specific initiative that they believe texting will help them execute, whereas adding texting to the way you execute is like weaving this channel, this preferred channel of communication into your execution model. And it's so important that you have a plan. And what we're going to talk about today is why is it important to lay a foundation? And we refer to this as the 6 pillars of texting. And we want to talk about this more today because what we find for the church model is that your members are already at different levels of participation. And even as we review some of these 6 pillars today, we all know that there's a challenge, that there are guests, people sitting in your pews and in your audience that they just have not connected with us yet. And we want to show you guys today why it's essential that you use this preferred method of communication to extend this invitation for them to connect with you. We're going to talk more about that. That's just the first pillar, boosting attendance. But what we see is we know that one of the key strategies in this progression of membership inside your organization, that when they're participating in additional ministries, sub-ministries, life groups, men's ministries, Stephen ministries, and so forth, that this then provides them with the confidence and the courage to go to the next level, and that's finding their place to serve. And then certainly when members are being fed and they're participating and they're serving, then they naturally want to give. And we're going to talk more about how you encourage giving by text today and why that's so important. But also, one of the major initiatives of the church is that we equip and empower our members. And you can use text to be successful at providing discipleship resources and tools to your members. We're going to talk about that as one of the 6 pillars. And then maybe what you may not be thinking, and we're going to show you some best practice as to why you should be considering adding strategies around how you do outreach by text as well. So we're going to talk about the 6 pillars of texting in our time together today. And then Andrew and Michael are also going to provide some color commentation. Now, you got to experience this for yourself. Grab your cell phone again, and we're going to talk about this. And we begins with boosting attendance, just exposing those guests and your members. Now, not just the guests and us trying to get them to come back and then engage with us, but increase the frequency at which your existing members are just simply attending church. We call this the boost attendance pillar. And one of the key ways that we do that is with a new digital solution to your Sunday bulletin. Okay, you got to experience this for yourself. Grab your phone, just text the word guide to 77007. And I want you to experience this for yourself. Now, certainly when we're approaching this attendance objective, we have people that fall into different categories, your guests, and then your existing attenders. And we want to show you why it's important to use a text option to invite your members just to simply connect with you. And now we're seeing, we go back to Michael's reference to keywords and how it's so essential that you have keywords available for some of these primary objectives. And something as simple as saying that whether it's your first time or whether you've been visiting our church for some time, we want to connect with you. Simply text the word connect. And then you can provide a digital contact card so they can use one of the deep links that Michael's talking about that takes you to the contact form so they can connect and provide you with more information. But now this allows you to deliver a video from the pastor that welcomes them to the church. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how effective using video with deep links in the messaging that you're going to do. But now, based on what you guys just experienced there, adding that digital bulletin piece that's coming out at the beginning of your worship weekend with all of what's going on inside your organization. And then what you're seeing there is also a deep link to the sermon notes for that week. And we want to build this anticipation for the ongoing sermon series as well. This is a focus on boosting attendance. I'll pause right there and see if the guys have something they want to add.
Yeah, I'll jump in with a few things. I'll try to keep my comments brief. I know we have a lot of material to get to, but I think the important thing here, and Mike, you said it just a few moments ago, is the concept of segmentation. Segmenting your database in such a way that you can contact the right people with the right message. Browsing through the list of attendees today, I can see a lot of familiar names. I know we have Touchpoint church partners, but even if you're not using Touchpoint, this is really where your database comes into play, because the database helps you understand who these people are, what they're doing at the church, and using that segmentation, using good practices. When we're finding, if we have we have like a women's ministry event that we want just the ladies to be attending, of course, then we need to segment properly to make sure that we're reaching out to just the right people with the right message. And that's a lot of where the success with ministry by text and texting in general comes from, is just that timely messaging to the right person.
And a lot of that's based on what they've already given you permission to text them about. See, the use of these keywords allows for those members to select the content, which triggers the segmentation that Andrew's even referring to. So again, this progression of membership that we call the 6 pillars. Now we're increasing the attendance, and now we want to hyper focus on what they're participating in. See, now this goes back to what Andrew's talking about in the use of keywords. Now there is a difference, and I want to stress to you, why should you use both information keywords and subscription keywords? See, In many instances, you want to provide your members with the ability, let's just call them teasers, whether they're there in your Sunday bulletin or a slide that they're seeing that registration for camp has begun. See, a keyword can allow them to just gather more information. And once again, with the deep links, link to where that information and the registration pages are on your website. But in many instances, you're going to use actual subscription keywords, and that experience is a little different. And why is it so important that you follow these compliance requirements? Because if it is a subscription keyword, it needs to tell them what they just subscribed to and tell them how they can remove that consent at any time. Let me just also add that we send millions of text messages a month. And in the church and ministry space, the opt-out rate is less than 1%. Once they opt in, this is how they want you to communicate with them. But if they want to remove that permission at any time, a simple stop command is the way that that empowerment is maintained. I'll pause again. Guys, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I love the screenshots that were selected for this slide, because I think it does a good job of illustrating the experience of not only the end user, but also the staff member that's going to be maintaining and managing these items. And so being able to see that again through the power of a database, it doesn't have to be the Touchpoint database, really any database that's being utilized properly and effectively is going to help you understand who it will be that's going to be that you can be reaching with this. And then setting metrics, setting things like if our goal is to increase participation, well, having a metric in place to figure out what success is. Today, that metric, we're running 10 for an average of 10 individuals per small group. We want to see that number get up to around 15. So having some sort of litmus test to determine, is this campaign being effective? Yes or no? And what can we do? What can we modify to get there?
And being able to track these click-throughs on these links. This is going to tell you where they're going and what information that they prefer to gather. Great information right here. So now we know that we're focusing on boosting their attendance. Now we want them to participate in additional ministries within church, but now we know that one of the greatest needs in order for churches to scale and organizations to scale and execute, we rely so heavily on our existing members to find their place to serve. And now here's another great opportunity. And why is it so important to use texting to create these buckets of segmentation for those members who desire to serve? See, it is so much a successful best practice to waterfall from larger buckets. You could have one master bucket with just simply the keyword serve for those that are interested in serving. But then from there, you can waterfall into that serve bucket and tell them that there is a need for volunteers for Vacation Bible School, and simply reply VBS to this message. Now from there, once again, a different message with a deep link that takes them to all the details about Vacation Bible School on your church website, and the ability for them to register to participate in Vacation Bible School volunteering or serving. Now you have another bucket of people that have previously served in Vacation Bible School. And now, once again, the segmentation that Andrew's talking about, and now you can come in and communicate with just that group that have previously served in Vacation Bible School. We all know the importance of finding places to serve. Let me just add one more thing before the guys add comments here. We know that a lot of what we're talking about with the 6 pillars is about getting these members connected. And the more connected they are, the deeper they go in their spiritual journey, but the more confident they are at inviting others to come and experience what they're experiencing. And nothing in many instances is more effective than life groups, getting them connected to smaller communities. You hear this additive all the time, that in order for us to get bigger, we have to get smaller. We have to keep getting smaller, and it's life groups. I want you guys to experience this for yourself and understand why this is important. One of the execution best practices is what we call connect cards. And if you're ever talking to me at my church and I don't know you within a couple of minutes, I want to know what life group you're in. And if you're not in one, I want to invite you to mine. So once again, just grab your cell phone and just text Cantrell to 77007. And I want to show you or let you experience for yourself why this is important. Because once again, they have a connection point, a person that's you and all of these amazing volunteers and lay leaders, ministry champions in your church. They should all have their own connect card. Because when you have your own short code, and for ours it's 77007, it's unlimited keywords. So now this will broaden the scope of implementation that you may be considering. And this is how we can get people connected. I'll pause again, Andrew, for your thoughts.
Well, no, you hit the nail on the head. And I think we could devote an entire webinar to just this one point here. I work with a lot of churches who, we talk about engagement. What does engagement mean? And it always comes down to two metrics, giving and attendance, which are obviously extremely important. But the element that's sort of left out in a lot of that is serving, because that's where a lot of this is going. Maturing believers in Christ typically will wind up having some ministry of their own, whether that's telling their children about Christ all the way up to leading a class, and everywhere in between. So adding in that element of who is serving is going to give us a great picture into the health of our congregation, the health of individuals within our church. So not forgetting to use that third concept, but after attendance, after giving, serving, because that's really where we're trying to get everyone to go.
Well, and then also what you guys are seeing here visually is, again, when you text them, they're going to text you back. And why is it so important to be ready? Now, you can turn two-way texting on or off for any bucket or group or segmentation or layer of your org tree that you create, but you need to be ready, because when you text them, they're going to text you back. Now you go back to your guest follow-ups. When Andrew talks about segmentation, it doesn't have to just be the results of one of your queries. Segmentation can go all the way down to a single dialogue, a single message to the guests that are in your audience. So I just want to make sure you guys have thought process on why you need to be ready for two-way texting again. Let me continue. Now, giving. This is one of the biggest questions that we get asked all the time. And absolutely, texting is an engine behind giving, but not just your core giving, whether that's tithing or you're driving an expansion or a construction campaign. There's so much more to what you can be doing with giving. But why is giving the fourth pillar instead of the first one? Because in many instances, we refer to this as the middle of the cinnamon roll. And you don't eat that first, right? Let's serve them. Let's love on them. Let's get them plugged in. Let's find a place for them to serve. And then they're naturally going to give. Now, beyond the core giving of the church, because you have your own short code and because there's unlimited keywords, if your son is going on a mission trip and he needs to raise his own funds for his participation, he can have a keyword. And that keyword can take you to his giving page. I could go on and on about giving and the power of this, but once again, it's all driven by keywords and deep links and all the different giving opportunities that are in your church. I'll pause again. Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, and this is going to be a little bit more touch point centric than some of my other points. But what I really want to see churches doing is removing as many barriers to giving as humanly possible. And one method that you can do this, we're showing a great screenshot right there. And I know that's a little bit small, but when you do receive the slide deck, zoom in a little bit on that screenshot of touchpoint giving, where you can create a special link that's going to allow you to specify type, giving page, fund, giving types, and even if you want to, all the way down to the amount. So if you're doing some kind of a special campaign, K-Love always jumps to mind because K-Love does the easy I think it's the easy gift plan for $10. So in theory, if you were doing something similar for a building campaign, just give us the easy gift plan of $10. You could actually send them a link that already pre-fills $10. They just hit a few buttons. If they have a saved payment type, they're off and running. They don't have to put that in. If they don't have a saved payment type, they just create one real quick and then they move forward. So just removing some of those barriers barriers to giving is going to go a long way. Making that an easy process will increase giving right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There are so many best practices here to giving, but why does this need to be on your radar, and why do you need to expand your sphere of process and strategy and thoughts around giving? Because you can. And with unlimited keywords, you can drill down into layers and layers of giving opportunities. I'll continue. So now, in the right order, we're boosting attendance. We've found a place for them, additional ministries for them to participate in. They found their place to serve. They're certainly encouraged now at this point to give. And now they're more confident than ever to be equipped and begin to share their faith. See, there is tremendous opportunity for churches and organizations to repurpose all this amazing content that you already have into the form of discipleship resources. Once again, the keywords and deep links allow your members to deliver this content and for the recipients to access it. Let's talk more about discipleship. Now, with discipleship, a lot of what we're seeing is what's called text dripping. And this is your ability to design a series of messages associated with discipleship resources, and a single keyword triggers it off. We see this widespread use with all the amazing sermon series content that you already have. And if there's a sermon series that's been done around marriage, then let's take that and create a series of messages, a drip campaign, and let's equip our members simply with the keyword marriage. And when they're talking to their friends, their neighbors, their colleagues at work, it allows them to say with confidence, you know, my pastor did a great sermon series on marriage. Grab your cell phone and just text the word marriage to 77007. Taking all this content and just empowering and providing confidence from a discipleship standpoint. Now, I want you guys to experience this for yourself again. If you text the word book to 77007, this is going to give you a taste of what text dripping is all about. The utilization of text for your discipleship initiatives is endless. It's absolutely endless. And any of these resources that you guys have already created, whether it's a keyword to a single resource is just one message, and is that just an information message with that keyword, or does it subscribe them to something? Why do you need to be thinking through these best practices? Because texting allows you to empower and equip your members to be disciples. I'll pause again, Andrew, for your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't have much to add there. I think you covered that really well. But what I will say is, in terms of that concept of a drip, if there's things going on that we know are happening on a weekly basis, or even throughout, just a given day throughout the week, like a discipleship group. A lot of churches that we work with have pre-scheduled discipleship groups that are meeting throughout the week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. Providing them with reminders that morning of here's the content. Here's a link to a PDF with the content that you'll be teaching today. Keeping those lines of communication open between you and the disciple makers in your church is really valuable asset to have.
Well, and again, what we're showing you guys why you need to be considering weaving texting into your operation, into execution. And that then takes us to the sixth pillar, which is outreach. Yes, why should you be considering using texting for your outreach strategies as well? This particular slide is depicting what I've come to see one of the most powerful tactics of all, and it's just simply text to win. It's amazing to me to see what they'll do for a $25 Starbucks gift card or a hoodie or whatever that might be. Again, I want you guys to experience this for yourself. Just text the word hoodie to 77007 and you'll see what I'm talking about. But why does this need to be part of your strategy? Well, once again, there is two specific channels of strategy here, and let me explain. The first one is when you have people on your campus that aren't members, whether it's Vacation Bible School or Fall Festival or Disciple Now or whatever you're doing, a simple text to win allows you to build a bucket of opt-ins for people who are not yet members. And now, every time you start a new sermon series, have the pastor create a quick video about the sermon series he's about to go through, and then send a text message back out to this bucket, this segmentation, and invite them back to campus again. And you're going to be shocked at the response rates. Now, in many instances, when Michael was talking upstream about cost savings, oh my gosh, this is substantial. And when you guys experience that Sunday bulletin already, the print cost savings is astronomical. But now combine that savings with postage savings. See, if it's your practice to send a postcard out to your community when the pastor's starting a new sermon series, do text to win, fill up a bucket, and send text messages for a fraction of the cost of that stamp. But now let's bring it to life with a video from your pastor talking about what he's teaching on next, and invite them back to campus again. See, outreach is a big part of the strategy. And I'll finish this by saying there's a lot of emphasis being placed right now on enhancements to our online church strategies. See, this is the second channel that needs to be in consideration. And why is it important? Because many members are working their way back to campus, but many have never been on your campus before. And why is it important to have this strategy? You can use keywords like tour. If you've never been on our campus and you'd like to take a tour before you come the first time, just text the word tour. If you'd like a host to meet you the first time, show you how to check your kiddos in, sit with you in church, connect you to a life group, just text the word host. There's a lot of ways to be using texting to enhance your online strategy so that we can go from online to on campus. Andrew, I'll throw it out to you for your thoughts.
All right. Well, at the risk of sounding redundant here, this is really, aside from your strategy, Mike, that I absolutely love of that text to win, because you're absolutely right. You're going to get some great responses, some great feedback just by offering that $20 Starbucks gift card or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to just more of a cold contact, that's where segmentation, as I've been saying, is the real power. Again, we advocate for our churches not to do, we call it the spray and pray, where you just spray out a message to everyone and kind of hope that it works, but actually having more of a strategy to it. Like I used a women's ministry event as an example a moment ago, but that could be just parents of kids who are attending Sunday school classes, parents of children who are guests to a Sunday school class, reaching out to them. I know that the way to my heart is through my kids. So any church that's trying to minister to me through by way of my kids and really ministering to them is going to have my attention pretty quickly. So putting together strategies like that are going to catch people's attention and just kind of remind them that you're there, remind them that you care, and make them think, I can't wait to go back there on Sunday.
Well, and just like that, we are almost out of time. I have one more thought I want to share on this topic, but while I am, Andrew, take a glance and see if there's any questions that we might address with the last few minutes that we have available. Let me share one more additional thought for you guys from an outreach standpoint. Your outreach strategies, I think it's critical from a why standpoint, why you need to include internal outreach strategies and external outreach strategies. A lot of what we've talked about initially is tactics and strategies around those that aren't members yet. But see, outreach can be an internal strategy as well. And these waterfall techniques, where you've already got a large group of members that are opted in, and now to Andrew's point, when you run a query, if there's a new home group that's starting in a particular zip code, and now you can drill into existing members and from an outreach standpoint, invite them. First of all, let's make them aware that a new home group during the week is starting, and then extend an invitation or an opportunity from an outreach standpoint for them to participate in that. I could go on and on with some of those tactics, but I just wanted to kind of point that out as well. Andrew, any questions before we wrap up our time today?
We do have one or two, but I'm actually going to follow up personally with y'all that have some outstanding questions since we're running up against time. But Mike, I'll go ahead and hand it back to you. I think there's one more slide to finish off, and then let everyone drop off.
You bet. Well, I'll just finish. We'll land this plane today. It's always amazing to me how fast our time goes by. So I'll finish this by saying a lot of what you guys are seeing, no doubt your wheels are spinning. And one of the things that I'm most excited about our partnership with Touchpoint is that every one of the Touchpoint partners is assigned a ministry consultant, building a project plan, documenting all these best practices, because just as we reviewed the 6 pillars of texting, there's much more of a robust implementation plan. And I'm excited that we're going to participate in the Touchpoint user conference that's coming up. And we're going to talk a lot more we're going to go from why you should be considering so much of what we talked about today to more specifically how you're going to do it and what it looks like inside Touchpoint. So I can't wait to meet so many of you personally at the upcoming user conference. Now, just as I had indicated, I'm more than happy to provide you with a copy of all these slides today. So if you've been texting all along the way, just simply reply the word Touchpoint to that number 77007, and you're going to receive a copy of all of our slides. And I am thankful for the time in this audience today.
And Mike, we are super thankful to you for joining us today. Thank you everyone else who participated as well. A lot of content to cover today, so hope you don't mind that we went over about 3 minutes. Andrew said he'll be following up on some of the questions via email, but again, just want to thank you all. We're looking forward to seeing those that are partner churches here in about a month up in Memphis, Tennessee. And for those that are not, I'll look forward to seeing you next month on our next What's the Point. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.